When it set out to create its national parks on the sites of eradicated Palestinian villages, the decision as to what to plant was totally in the hands of the JNF. Almost from the start, the JNF executive opted mainly for conifers instead of the natural flora indigenous to Palestine. In part, this was an attempt to make the country look European, although this appears nowhere in any official document as a goal. In addition, however, the choice of planting pine and cypress trees, and this has been overtly stated, was meant to support the country's aspiring wood industry. The three aims of keeping the country Jewish, European looking, and green quickly fused into one. This is why forests throughout Israel today include only 11% of indigenous species and why a mere 10% of all forests date from before 1948. At times, the original flora manages to return in surprising ways. Pine trees were planted not only over bulldozed houses, but also over fields and olive groves. In the new development town of Migdal Ha-Emek, for example, the JNF did its utmost to try and cover the ruins of the Palestinian village of Mujaidil at the town's eastern entrance, with rows of pine trees, not a proper forest in this case, but just a small wood. Such green lands can be found in many of Israel's development towns that cover destroyed Palestinian villages. Tirat HaKarmel over Tirat Haifa, Kiryat Semona over Halsha, Ashkelon over Majdal. But this particular species failed to adapt to the local soil, and despite repeated treatment, disease kept afflicting the trees. Later visits by relatives of some of Muyaydal's original villagers revealed that some of the pine trees had literally split in two, and how, in the middle of their broken trunks, olive trees had popped up in defiance of the alien flora planted over them 56 years ago. Within Israel and throughout the Jewish world, the JNF is seen as a highly responsible ecological agency whose reputation rests on the way it has been assiduously planting trees, reintroducing local flora and landscapes, and paving the way for scores of resort and nature parks, complete with picnic facilities and children's playgrounds. Israelis find their way to these spots by clicking on the different icons on the JNF's detailed website or taking their cues from the material posted on the various information boards located at the entrances to these parks and at various stations along the way within the recreational grounds themselves. These texts guide and inform visitors wherever they go, even if all they want to do is enjoy themselves and relax. J&F parks do not only offer parking spaces, picnic areas, playgrounds, and access to nature, but also incorporate visible items that tell a particular history: the ruins of a house, a fortress, orchards, cactuses, sabra, and so on. There are also many fig and almond trees. Most Israelis think these are figs or wild almonds, as they see them in full bloom towards the end of the winter, heralding the beauty of spring. But these fruit trees were planted and nurtured by human hands. Wherever almond and fig trees, olive groves, or clusters of cactuses are found, there once stood a Palestinian village. Still blossoming afresh each year, these trees are all that remain. Near the now uncultivated terraces, and under the swings and picnic tables and the European pine forests, there lie buried the houses and fields of the Palestinians, whom Israeli troops expelled in 1948. However, guided only by these JNF signs, visitors will never realize that people used to live there. the Palestinians who now reside as refugees in the occupied territories, as second rate citizens inside Israel, and as camp dwellers beyond Palestine's border. The true mission of the JNF, in other words, has been to conceal these visible remnants of Palestine, not only by the trees it has planted over them, but also by the narratives it has created to deny their existence. Whether on the JNF website or in the parks themselves, the most sophisticated audiovisual equipment displays the official Zionist story, contextualizing any given location within the national meta narrative of the Jewish people and Eretz Israel. This version continues to spout the familiar myths of the narrative. Palestine as an empty and arid land before the arrival of Zionism, that Zionism employs to supplant all history that contradicts its own invented Jewish past. As Israel's green lands, these recreational sites do not so much commemorate history as seek to totally erase it. Through the literature, the JNF attaches to the items that are still visible from before 1948. A local history is intentionally denied. This is not part of a need to tell a different story in its own right, but is designed to annihilate all memory of the Palestinian villages that these green lands have replaced. In this way, the information provided at these JNF sites is a preeminent model for the all-pervading mechanism of denial Israelis activate in the realm of representation. Deeply rooted in the people's psyche, this mechanism works through exactly this replacement of Palestinian sites of trauma and memory by spaces of leisure and entertainment for Israelis. In other words, what the JNF texts represent as an ecological concern is yet one more official Israeli effort to deny the Nakba and conceal the enormity of the Palestinian tragedy.